So moving on to timing, and one of the things that's helpful is a reminder of what the lines mean in terms of before top dead center. So 16 being to the far right, and then the other lines are 8, 4, and 0, or top dead center. According to the manual here, I have a 110 engine, and I'm thinking there is somewhere in here the timing specs. Okay, back here. So 110, we've got the point dwell at almost 31. I think I'm going to have to stick with that. The timing with an automatic transmission is 12 to 16. So I'll shoot for somewhere in the middle, closer to 12 rather than 16. Now, again, transferring, I'll walk you back to the engine here. So as we look down, okay, so there's the wheel, and again 16 is the number or the line on the far right. And I'm hoping that I'll start the engine up, I'm hoping that the line on the pulley wheel is easily identifiable. I've got the retaining nut on the distributor hold down loosened. I've got the vacuum advance unplugged, and here's an awl that I'm going to use to there. So that's out of the way. The light for the dwell meter / tachometer hooks on that negative lead of the coil. So I need to have a low enough RPM on the engine that the centrifugal advance is not contributing to the timing. So let's move that wrench out of the way, fire the engine up, get it warmed up so that we can idle, and then we'll put a timing light on it. All right, sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. I had arbitrarily rotated the distributor to that orientation once I made sure that the nut on the retaining piece was loose enough. And lo and behold, while it wasn't easy, I was able to get the timing light pointed down so I could illuminate both a line on the line on the pulley wheel and the lines on the timing little set of marks there. Right at a little bit over 12, so I'll take that. I'm just going to tighten and that was with the engine running at roughly 550 RPM. That was with the idle speed screws backed out completely. And so that's all good news. I will tighten the nut on the distributor hold down and move on to adjusting the carburetors, including synchronizing them side to side. So back from what I'll call a 80% successful test drive, the first thing I noticed is that the left front brake seems to be grabbing. These again are non-automatically adjustable brakes, so I need to go in and slightly loosen that one, and that'll require me to jack the car up and so forth. The other thing I noticed was that the speedometer is a little noisy. I really should have lubricated that when I had that gauge cluster out, but it is a matter of just getting in there with a graphite spray. It's got one of those little tubes on the end. The other thing that I'm going to have to deal with, and I'll do that now, is I mentioned in a previous video how the adjustment of that screw affects the RPM at which it shifts from low to drive, depending upon throttle position. So it still, to my mind, is waiting a little too long to shift for the given throttle position. So I believe that I need to, I'm going to double check. I don't remember now which way I'm supposed to go. And it's in a video. It's also online. I'll find it on the Corvair Center forum and fix that. Other than that, it runs great. Real happy with it. So I found two places, two different things. They said rotate that swivel clockwise to raise the speed at which it shifts. Obviously, then counterclockwise will reduce that. I also found somewhere that said to raise the speed, rotate it so that that swivel is closer to the front of the car, which also agrees with turning it counterclockwise. I'm going to give it 3 turns and see. I won't take it back out. Now, let's see. I'm going to pull this forward, pop that off, rotate it out. That's 1, 2, 3 turns. And we'll see how that works. So now I'm going to have to put this down because it's hot and I need both hands. I've been going through all the boxes of parts and trying to make sense of all that. I segregated things that I thought still needed to be installed into one box, and one of those items is this fitting duct piece. Not sure what I would call it. Anyway, it's the one that goes opposite the hole that I covered up in there. But just for finishing sake, it makes sense to go ahead and install it. So I need 4 screws in the perimeter. I went through my collection of sheet metal screws that have hex heads on them so that they kind of match everything else that's in there. And we'll try to find 4 that are the same, that fit those holes long enough, etc., and install that. Installed. The first set of screws that I chose, the thread diameter was too large. It wouldn't go into the hole. So that's in there. Now I need to install the transmission dipstick grommet. So I'll fight with that now. Yeah, fought, and for the most part won. I'm going to work on this PCV, this whole vacuum area here. I'll find a new piece of tubing and get rid of this T, which was in there for cruise control, provided an extra vacuum port. We'll just connect these 2 directly as they're supposed to be. So onward, find the right hose amongst my collection of tiny tubes and hoses. I thought I had a box. I'll have to look deeper, see what we find. So I had it in my hand. That longer piece of rubber tubing was just fine, rubber hose. So that was cut to length and now spans that gap, providing vacuum modulation to the transmission. I also replaced that PCV hose, which was in a not a good place, or not a good condition. It was pretty much rock hard, and I tried to put it over top of the PCV valve nipple and it just cracked. So I found a more flexible new hose, and it's in place and clamped down with hose clamps. So I still have some time tonight. I'm going to go underneath the dash and go ahead and lubricate that speedometer shaft hopefully that will take care of the noises from that. So that pull handle does not look so nice, but my friend and Corvair guru had a nice one available, and I went ahead and put it on the polishing wheel. I think I missed a spot. Anyway, remove that plate there, and that exposes the two screws that are holding that handle on. I'm going to go ahead and replace that. New handle is on. The old handle has been added to my bin of stuff that I need to find a new home for. That new home may be, yeah, here it is here. That new home may be the Corvair Ranch, but I think I'm going to lay the parts out, take some photos, and offer them up for free. Just pay shipping and it's yours. Anyway, that turned out nice. Thank you, Gary. A couple other things that were bugging me were this bulb housing to illuminate the license plate was loose, so remove the nut, put a washer underneath. No more flopping around. The thing I have to do now is find a place. Where I can attach these two grounds so that these bulbs in those housings work. Yeah, I will look around and see what I can find. I know it works. I touched here and the light bulb went on. I touched this screw and the light bulb did not go on. Unfortunately, that would have been too easy. With the headlight switch on, I was not getting illumination from either of these tag license plate bolts. I went in and noticed out the back side that neither of these ground were connected. I've got a screw here and I've already put that end in and it now works. I'm going to now put this end in here. All right, parking lights are on, which means tail lights are on and tag lights should be illuminated. That one is on now that it's got a ground wire. That one is not on. So let's see. I've taken one of the screws out. And I've actually taken this apart and pulled the bulb out. But this cover comes off, brings with it a glass cover there. It exposes a socket. The bulb that was in there, I did a continuity test on. It does not work. But I can take this one, even though the light area is too large to fit. This bayonet style will still work. So let's see if it should go in there. Alright, that is not working, so we'll do a little sleuthing here to see if we actually have 12 volts to the center. And again, this could be a bad bulb. I'm trying to solve another issue, and that is no reverse lights or backing lights, backup lights. The key is in the on position. The shifter is in reverse, and with the tailgate hatch closed, I get no lights on the back door. So it's never just one problem. Even though I was getting continuity from ground at the battery to this, what I thought was the socket. Wasn't really getting enough continuity. And this tab had paint on it. I bent it out to make sure that it would make contact with the cleaned contact here. All that continuity is squared away. And then I discovered that really the socket of the bulb, this exposed brass looking thing, was not making contact with the housing. So when the screws were going through the body of the housing and touching on the inside of the door, which is grounded, that ground was never making it to the socket. So what I've done now is I took some wire and I put it in that slot, put it in the slot, bent it over, put the positive contact in there, and it goes in a little hook on it there like that. And now when I touch ground, well, it was working when I touched ground down. It's not working there either. Well, great. Let's work on that a little bit more.